Time to wrap up the Bonegrinder series. We're going to be working on the roof with some coffee stirrers. Yep, coffee stirrers. We're going to use these to make some shingles. I'm going to start out by cutting a bunch of them a little less than an inch in length. And I'm going to use the grid to sort of mark them out. And then I round off the edges. And that makes, a little shingle side on one side and then the straight side on the other side. And we're going to slap them on top of the roof with a little bit of white glue. I made a bunch of these. And there you can see I'm using the X-Acto knife. Drink a lot of coffee too. Use my coffee stirrers to mix in my creamer. Yes, I use creamer. Don't you judge me. So here we are. We're doing a little bit of white glue around the edges to lay down our first row of shingles. And I'm just going to go all the way around and do this row, which is the simplest row to do. Now I started this second row and the angle was all just too sharp. So I laid down a backstop, like a little square piece, so that it would the second row shingles would lay level. I ran out of shingles right there, so it's off to the races. I'm cutting them again using, as you can see there, I'm using the grid, just throwing it over there to eyeball it. It's good to have varying sizes too, I think. It just adds a little bit more, character to it. Looks a little bit more realistic to have these imperfect shingles. Not each one of a different length, and I don't pay too much attention to how I'm cutting out the corners to round it out. And then it's just back to putting a backstop in for that second row and going all the way around with it. I might have used a little bit too much glue right there, but not a big deal. It'll dry. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, the studio got all wadded up when the pipes burst down here, and took the plumbers pretty much a full day to come in here and do the repairs. So now with the next level up, as you can see there, I'm laying out another backstop, a double layer backstop, and I didn't like how it was looking. So I started measuring out longer pieces and going higher up on the roof, trying to come up with some kind of idea that was different than just keep building up backstops and trying to lay them out. So I settled on going up to the next little angle up on the roof with the foam and doing some longer pieces there. Experimenting at this point, just sort of eyeballing it, figuring it out, how I'm going to lay it out, and I'm liking it. So I settle on this. At this point, I'm pretty much settled on it. And then I just start cutting and building it out. Take that old first try off there. I pried it off and then just continue to build around. There's a better angle to see what I'm doing. I'm laying it over to it so it overlaps between two of them. And then the space in between, I'm actually cutting to fit. So I'll do two straight cuts of the shingles and then cut to fit in between them. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Matter of fact, it's better if it's not. It gives it more character. And it's spookier looking, I think, at the end of the day. And that's what I do for the third level of the shingles, is just go around and cut to fit in between each of the overlapping layers. And that doesn't take long at all. Now the next layer up, I cut varying lengths and do the same thing. I just sort of fit them all around. Sometimes I'll cut so it fits better to give it more even spacing. And then that last layer at the very tippy top there that you can't see very well because I didn't move my camera angle like an idiot, I do more of the same. And then the very, very top I left without any shingles on it because honestly I didn't know what I was going to do with it. So there'll probably be a future date. I'll come back and look at that. Maybe I'll talk to some folks and get some ideas. If you have any ideas, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them about how to do the very top of the roof. For now, I'll just paint it and leave it at that. I don't think it really detract from it too much. We'll find out. A couple more pieces here, and I think I'd finish it up. Yeah, there we go. And then I did these little cross pieces in there, just throwing little scrap pieces off to the side so it looks like somebody tried to repair the roof. Next, I used an espresso brown to do the base coat. I used an espresso brown for all the base coats, I think, for all the wood parts of this build. And this is where I thought maybe I made a mistake and I should have done the painting before I did the cutting, because it took me a little while to go over everything. I used a big brush at first, and then I had to go back over it with a smaller brush to get into all the nooks and crannies and underneath all the boards to make sure I had full coverage. You know, it took a little bit longer than I expected. A little bit of a pain in the butt, to be honest. Right now I'm sitting next to some exposed pipes. Ripped out the wall earlier. I'm going to have to build another wall this weekend to put up. Here I am painting the very tippy top. And using the smaller brush to go in and paint some of the places where I missed earlier after it dried the first time. Like I said, took way longer than I liked. Here I'm doing a dry brush, and I'm using a suede for the dry brush. Give it that old gray. You know how wood gets gray after it's set for a while? You know, if you have like a fence that's wood, after a couple of years, or even maybe after 6 months, it goes grayish. And then I like that so much, I ended up using the suede on all of the pieces of wood and even the awnings to give it a little bit of a aged look. And another important thing to note is that I also turned it upside down so I could get the underside of the awnings and give it a little bit of a dry brushing. And here I'm doing the magic secret sauce stuff, which is the black wash. And this is pretty much putting it on every part of this model to give it a grungy, dingy, aged look. Put it on the wood, the awning, the windows, the platform, the door, everything. And to wrap it up, all I have to do is put the blades on the windmill. Use a pin vise to make a little hole, both in the model and in the blades. Attach a little support structure there, and then put it through the hole, and Bob's your uncle. Oh, I thought I had this laying around, some moss. I've been saving it for a rainy day, and it's actually raining outside while I was doing this, so it was perfect. Put moss all over it. I was pretty free with moss. Maybe a little bit too much. But at the end of the day, I sort of like how it came out. It's not a bad little model for Bonegrinder. I think I'm going to do another one. This was more of like a test run. I'm going to do another one that's a playable Bonegrinder with detachable levels, I think. Sometime in the near future. All in all, like how it turned out. So that's it for this week, and that's it for the Bonegrinder series, at least this first series. We'll tackle it again in the future with a playable set. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Feel free to subscribe if this is your jam. And until next week, have fun and keep crafting.